We're live, so I'm filming everybody now on the virtual screen. Yep. So I wanted to get I got everybody in the room, now I'm getting everybody on at their home, right? Yep. You got the video playing so I can see everybody? Perfect. All right, I just wanted to get them here on this little camera. All right, good morning everyone. Morning. Ooh, I worked that right. I'm David Brownell, and today we're going to talk about your 2021 business plan. And so I know it's already February 10th, right? It's February 10th, but what we're going to do today is not talk about building it. Hopefully it's built, and we're going to open it up. Did everybody get the reminder to kind of bring a semblance of whatever that business plan is? I think that would be most helpful. We're going to dig into the business plan today. This is going to be interactive, so for those of you who are on the virtual in the virtual environment, please type in your comments or when I'm going to ask some questions, I'd like to get your input too. We're going to engage a lot during this time. Beta will yell out your questions, he'll yell out your comments to me, and so I'm going to get you as much in the classroom as I can. A little bit about me. This is my first time to teach in this very room. My team and I joined with Signature Real Estate Group, just a few weeks ago. In the middle to end of December, and so it's exciting for us. I've been a broker or a real estate professional in Las Vegas this is my 26th year, and we have a small team right now. We're hopeful to grow that. COVID caused it to get smaller, and now I guess COVID's here. We're gonna get growing that again. But right now there's 5 of us, and so Nicole's here with me today, just kind of helping me out. And she's my right-hand person. And so 25 years in real estate, seen a lot of things, done a lot of things over the years. And what I'm hopeful to do today is not talk about real estate, but I'm going to talk about business planning, because I think that is where it all starts and where it all finishes in this process. We just happen to be selling real estate, but we're running a business and we're trying, I think, make some money. And so. I know a lot of the leadership that here at Signature had the opportunity to serve on the board of directors at the association, at the state and at the local level, worked with the MLS committee for a number of years. So that I know Tom and Chris and Todd and Vandana and Brandon and Janet and Patty, everybody that's part of the group. At least I probably have missed some, but I know a fair number of the leadership here, and so that's part of the reason that lured me to be part of this group. So thanks for welcoming us. It has been great through the social platforms, etc. And I'm looking forward to sharing back with some of the things that I've gained and hopefully can help your business as we spend these 90 minutes together today. Before I get started into my content, what I'd like to do is I'd like to kind of scan the room and get from you. So here we are, the title of the class, Validate Your 2021 Business Plan. And so that maybe didn't resonate with you of what we were going to talk about, but it got you here. So what were you hopeful that we were going to talk about? Let's get some of the things up so I make sure that I cover what you want to learn about today too, related to your business plan and looking forward. Anybody have any things that were on their mind when they got here? Do I have an eraser?
Well,
Yes, hello.
My mask doubles as an eraser. Right here. All right. So what are we going to cover? What do we want to cover today?
Well, I'm just starting out, and I was just kind of like, where do I start with this?
Okay.
And so I put a couple of things down, but just to get focused on, okay, this is what you need. Start here, end here. What details exactly do I need? So it can just be a clearer vision.
Okay, so.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. So.
I know we were supposed to have one starting, but I'm just starting.
We're gonna talk about that a little bit, because I expected that we might have a few people that came without a business plan yet, and they were just going in saying, I'm gonna hustle, and it'll work out in the end. And so we'll talk about that and some of the flaws or problems with that, and some of the solutions or why we recommend not going in that direction. What else? Anybody else have anything they wanted to make sure we talked about today? No? Nothing? Beta, anybody online? Nobody wants to? Why are you here then?
Just to make sure that I have real clarity on where my business is going
Sure.
this year. Make sure I have all the details.
Tell me your name.
Tanya?
Tanya. Hi, I'm David. Nice to meet you. So truly just to validate your clarity is a word I heard. I like that. We're going to write that down, because I think this plan without clarity is just a mess of stuff that confuses us for most of the year. Anything else? There was somebody else. You were going to say something. Tell me your first name.
Suzette.
Suzette. I met you just recently. Okay, good. I'm going to get names.
Yeah. I think it's going to be dialing in on specifics on the plan.
Specifics on the plan.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, we're going to spend some time talking about the specifics, and I call those kind of the tactics or the strategies that go along with that goal to make it come to life. We tend to write down a lot of goals, and Beta, you got one.
Yep, Jenny Wild. What's going to work in this crazy low inventory climate?
Yeah, what's going to work in this crazy low inventory? Yeah, so that's a little bit, that pushes us a little bit off the business plan, but we'll talk about some business plan strategies given the current market climate. We're going to talk more globally about business planning and some of the best practices related to that, but I'll try to get into talk, as we get to the end, we'll talk about some 2021 specific strategies with low inventory. I just did, we talked about that yesterday. I was going to say, yeah, this was the group I spoke to, but it's crazy that we're down to 3,400 units in the market as a whole, and it's, it's shrinking even each day more. And that is going to make for an interesting 2021. And I think we'll probably get to recalibrate or revisit our business plans a couple times during the year and maybe make some adjustments, because I don't think we have a good sense of what how this year is going to play out in full. I think we have some ideas about the next 3 to 6 months that we can probably put some faith in, but after that, it's still a little bit up in the air. All right, anything else, Beta, back there? All right, well, all right, so good. This is some good stuff. We're gonna talk about all that. What I want to start the day with is this. You've got your business plans in front of you, or you've got them in your head. What I want you to do is I want you to write down, you get one word on a piece of paper, one word, that would, if you had to describe your business plan or tell me what one word that best would depict your business plan or your goals for 2021, what would that one word or one number be? If you were going to blurt out one word or one number, how would I know what your plan is for 2021 in the best way with that one word? Give me that word. Go ahead and put them down. One word. 75 units, 50, maybe it's not a units number, maybe it's a dollar number, maybe it's a word, maybe it's resilience. What is, so all right, everybody got a word or a number? All right, so who wants to share? And now, but before I say, because I've not shared this part, so I'm a big participation person. I like to challenge people. We're going to talk a lot about books that I read. I read a lot. And what I like to think about participation as is not, oh, here's an idea that I want to present and I want to be, oh, look, what great idea, really smart person, or oh, great idea, really creative and resourceful person. No, we're bringing ideas and we're gonna burn through the ideas. We're gonna put them through the ringer and determine whether we think it's a good idea or a bad idea. But the ideas are just to get the conversation started. It is not. If we say it's a bad idea, we're not judging you saying, oh, what a bad person to come up with such a bad idea, must be a bad realtor with a bad business. That's not what we're doing here, all right? Let's get the ideas out. We'll put all of our ideas through the ringer. Our goal is to end up with some great ideas at the end to take back to our businesses and put in practice, okay? All right, so idea. Give me, what's a number, a word? What do you got? Fire. Persistence, okay? Cool, all right, I can't erase this stuff. All right, we're gonna go off the whiteboard onto the paper. We're going to go to permanent markers, maybe. All right, persistence. Okay. Aggressive. Was that the word?
Yes.
Okay. I'm ready for another one.
Efficient.
Efficient. Okay, this is one word. I'm going to say this again out loud one more time. This is one word that if we could only look at this word, it would tell us everything we needed to know about your 2021 business plan. Okay, you ready? All right, that's okay. Okay, next.
Intentional.
Intentional. All right. That's another good word. What else? Anything else? Beta, you got some?
Yeah, consistency and growth.
Consistency and growth. Okay. Systemization. Is it okay if I just put systems? Anything else?
Maybe motivation.
Motivation. All right, good. These are all great words that describe business plans or goals, okay? But here's one thing I don't know about any of those words. I don't know. How am I going to determine whether at the end of the you know, you had a really growthful, intentional year. I mean, how are we going to measure this stuff? How do you measure? Anybody got an idea how we measure these things?
You can't.
You can't. You can't. It's hard. And so how do we know? So that's describing your plan. So my plan is based in growth. And so I'm going to just use that word growth for a second because that's a good word because that gets us moving in the right direction, I think. Growth. All right, so that came from you, Beta, right? And so we'll let them type in their answer. But how are we going to know at the end of the year when we look at our goal and we look at the business plan that we built out, and here we are on December 31st, 2021, how do I know we won? Our goal was growth. How do I know we won?
The number tell you how much.
Ooh, hold on, you said what? You said the number. What number?
Well, from what number were you and what was your goal?
Ah, good. And so so these are great words that describe your business plan. I want you to write down this word. Well, let me ask a different question first before you write down this word. Why do you sell real estate?
Because first of all, I love people.
Perfect. I like that. I mean, so not what's your big why, but why do you get up every day? Why did you come here? Why are you going to go make calls, or why are you going to go meet with potential clients? What are you doing it for?
Motivation to live better.
Live better. Money. Fair?
Yes.
Fair.
Money.
Why are you in business?
Money's nice, but I'm in for the total challenge.
The total challenge. Yeah, so it's okay if you lose a bunch of money as long as you're challenged.
So far, yeah.
Okay.
I am in a high growth learning experience right now.
Good,
Yeah.
good. Write down this word, everybody. I think you're in business for one reason. I think that you're running a business plan for one reason. I think that your goals are all couched in one thing, and I'll call it profit. Okay? And so write down that word. And so now I'm going to ask you, if you get to re-look at this word or number on your piece of paper, and I was going to best understand what your business plan was for 2021, now write down something different. Next to persistence, next to aggressive. What's your profit goal for this year? Does anybody have a profit goal for this year? Any profit goals? Okay, I got a nod back there. Beta, you got any profit goals?
Not yet.
And so you don't have to share that number with me, but let's just say that number was $100,000, okay? $100,000. Let's write that number down, $100,000. Now that's our profit goal. Were you with me? I read a book, and it's one of my favorite books, and I'm going to share a bunch of things about books today. This book by Mike Michalowicz, I can never pronounce his name. Well, Mike Michalowicz, and he wrote this book called Profit First. And here's how he says we build a business plan for the year. We start the business plan by saying, here's how much money I want to have as profit for me after all my expenses at the end of 2021. And so let's pick a number. What's your number for 2021? I'm sure you all had a vision. See, as realtors, we tend to do this. As realtors, we tend to go in and say, what's your goal this year? I'm going to do $500,000 in commission income. And that's someone's goal. And unfortunately, what happens at the end of the year is when they get to the end of the year, they don't know whether that was a good year or a bad year because they got their $500,000 in commission income, but if they spent $485,000 to get it and they only made $15,000, it probably wasn't a great year. There's perhaps somebody that only made $100,000 in gross income but actually had a $50,000 year. Would you rather have a $15,000 net profit or a $50,000 net profit year? And so the first thing I want to do is get this concept of thinking about our real estate business as this number that everybody seems to judge their worth by in our community, which is, I did $1 million in gross commission income. Well, who cares? And so we're going to talk about the perspective of profit. Michalowicz says in his book that he recommends writing down that profit number, and then determine how much revenue you're going to generate. And so how do we do that? So you got your number. How many transactions? Somebody said numbers. How many transactions did you plan to do in 2021? Do you have that number? 30? 60? What's your number? What's your average commission? Do you have this? Yeah, I mean, we're going to quickly just refresh business planning, and then we'll get into some of the tactics. So you've got, what's your average commission per transaction? If I use right now in this market, I'm using somewhere between $9,000 and $10,000 is as the average fee earned as a gross revenue that comes into the business from every unit that is completed. And so if you're going to do 40 units, if your goal is to do 40 units this year, then you're going to make $400,000 in gross revenue. What was our profit requirement? 100. So how much money do we get to spend in 2021 to generate our business, to make our business happen, to end up with that $100,000 of net profit? That's right, $25,000 a month. And that's it. So if you can generate $400,000 in gross revenue and your profit goal is 100, you know what you have to spend. And so now you have some fixed costs. And so let's start backing those out. All right? And so what are some of your fixed costs? Let's just rattle some off. We're not going to go through and build an entire business plan and profit and loss statement here or budget for our 2021, but we're going to talk about it for a second. What are some fixed costs that you know of for sure? MLS. Your licensing.
Advertising.
Well, okay, yeah. Advertisement, let's not get there. Advertisements are optional. If we don't have any money after we spent all of our fixed costs, then we just don't get to advertise. We have to find a different way to generate that $400,000 of revenue. You have office fees.
Work from home.
Well, sure. If you work from home, you might not have office fees. I agree. But you certainly know you have a fair number of fixed expenses that exist. Whether you sell a house or not, you're going to spend some money as a real estate professional. Fair? And so get those down. And then you can work on, how many of you, does anybody have an assistant? You have an assistant. And so he or she gets paid a salary or an hourly rate, and they work 2,040 hours a year, 2,080 hours a year, whatever that is, depending on your vacation structure. And so then you do that math, and there's another fixed expense. You with me? And so you can quickly go through and spend a lot of that $300,000 because you've already got that hired. You know it's going to get spent. And the goal of this process and the goal of this book is to basically let you, hey, I can't do that Zillow ad program because I can only spend $1,500 a month in advertising, and I've spent $13,000 and this costs $600. This cuts right into my profit. And so I'm going to recommend that this book, Mike Michalowicz, Profit First, is a different perspective on how you go about getting your business plan in place and coming to that conclusion, starting with the profit number first. We tend to do this instead of profit first. We tend to say, all right, if I can sell 40 homes and I can make $10,000 a home, I can do $400,000 of gross commission income. And now let me look at my expenses. And so, yeah, I'll go through my expenses and I'll line those up. And all right, this says I'm only going to make $40,000. I just hope it's better than that. And then you start your year. And then you go, and then what happens is you spend more, and you're inefficient, and that listing didn't sell as fast, and you had to do that relist, and you had to do a whole new marketing campaign, and all of a sudden that $40,000 is now $25,000. And so I recommend that you set your profit line first, and then that dictates how you can make your business happen. And then you'll know whether marketing and advertising can get you to your finished line, to your goal, or whether it's hustle or sweat equity or open houses or those kinds of things that are going to cause you to generate some business because you just don't have the budget economically to do some of the things that maybe other teams or other real estate agents can do. Question?
What's a reasonable percentage to use as your fixed cost or your cost?
Ooh.
What is that? Is it 60, 75%, less?
Yeah, good. So fixed and so typically. It's a great book. So I was a Keller Williams agent. This has nothing to do with my affiliation with Keller Williams. In my opinion, this is the best book written about real estate, the recipe book on real estate. It's called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. It was published back in 2004. I don't have a copy of that here. It's Gary Keller, Dave Jenks, and Jay Papasan are the three authors. It's a bestseller. And in that book, 2004, so there's an update coming, a revised edition coming out here any month, they say, which means sometime it may be in the 2020s. But they, back in the day, and it still holds pretty true, you should expect that your expenses are going to be, your fixed expenses are going to be about 40% of your business. And so, or you're fixed. And your variable expense is about 30% with a profit. Your goal is to try to find a profit of between 25 and 30%. And I can send that out. I don't have that book here. I could send out inside that book, if you grab a copy, or even if you just go in and type millionaire real estate agent budget or profit and loss statement, it'll give you the percentages. It breaks them down by labor should be 12% of your total costs. Office expense should be 3% of your total costs. And so it breaks it out based on different income levels. And so the percentages go down because if your office fees are fixed and you do $1 million in gross revenue, that's a smaller percentage of your as an expense versus if you only did $500,000 in gross revenue. So in the book, there's a chart that gives you at the different income levels. You're going to do $100,000 of gross commission income. Here's how your expense percentages should line up. Here's what your profit margin should be based on research and studying results of thousands of realtors' work over a course of many years in the late 90s and early 2000s. So it's got some methodology, or it has some validity in the methodology that was presented there. And so I think that's a place where you could go to get some good data. Again, if you're not going to buy the book, Nicole, will you remind me the red book breakdown of expense percentages? I'm going to send that. I'll send that to someone to make sure it's in the. How do we do this? Do we create a Google Drive and everybody gets the documents in Google Drive, or how's that work, Beta?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. So we'll figure out a way to get you that document if you don't buy the book. All right. That helped with that question? Okay. I mean, in my business, my goal is to reach 30% profitability. My goal is to hit 30% profitability. And it's hard. I will tell you that, as a sole practitioner, or as a small team with you and an assistant, it's a lot easier because you are generating all the revenue. And so but wait till if you had a team and all of a sudden your team's generating the revenue and they are a cost themselves because let's say that team member let's say they make half the fee. All of a sudden your gross revenue is not $10,000, it's $5,000. And it's harder to hit 30% profitability when you have a cost of sale that's 40 to 50% of your gross as an expense right off the top. And so, but 30% is my goal. And so that's, I'm still seeking there. We're in the mid-20s and trying to get better. So, all right. So let's keep going. All right. So the first thing, so we got a profit number down, and I want to, yeah.
Jen, are quarterly taxes part of fixed expenses?
No, taxes are after everything's, what quarterly taxes? What quarterly taxes? Yes. Any taxes that you pay that are tied to your business, your profit is before tax. Okay? When you put that number on your bottom line there and you said, I want to have $200,000 of profit, that's a pre-tax number. We can have a whole different class on taxes. In fact, today, I should have announced this at the beginning, but today, some lucky person, how do we get everybody's email and name on the same place so we can draw one and reward this book to a lucky person?
We can have them text the number.
All right, so everybody can text in their info. So speaking of taxes, there's a whole different study that I'm interested in. It's on how to kind of, from a business owner's perspective, how to keep your tax liability down. And this guy, Tom Wheelwright, has written perhaps the best book on tax management, on tax planning, on tax smartness. And he also has a podcast. I would recommend that you check that out too. We're off topic, but somebody said taxes, so here I go. His podcast is called Wealthability, the word wealth ability. And it's excellent too. But somebody will get this book. I just went to a session last Thursday and Friday in Phoenix where this book was 2-day, and I came out with 17 different tax strategies that will help me improve my bottom line in the after-profit tax environment. So there you go. So we'll make sure somebody gets that. All right. Any other questions, Beta?
Nope.
Okay. So where do we go now? Okay. So what topic? Blah blah blah. Okay. Let's get into this. All right. So a couple things about business plan. So we're gonna get into the tax of business planning. I'm going to show you some ways that you can dial in because you've got a plan. So who can share a plan? Who can quickly share their plan? Who has a business plan with some numbers? Anybody? Otherwise, we'll use my faith. No? No business plan? Well, if you're going to have one, Hey, you got anybody that will share?
Not yet.
Come on, participation is for winners.
Mine's like a whole life plan, so.
Oh, a whole life plan.
It has everything.
Yeah. So tell me, when you say your life plan, tell me what that means when you say life plan.
It's broken into 4 or more parts. It has my goals for my physical well-being, social well-being, you know, and then one on the real estate or business side. And then financial well-being, which is separate from.
Sure.
real estate.
All for 2021.
Yes.
So you've broken it down, not just, and so a life plan.
Right.
And that's fantastic. I was just about to head and talk about life planning. And so I read another great book. We'll get to it. It's called Living Forward by Michael Hyatt and Daniel Harkavy. And they talk about building a life plan instead of just building a business plan. But they don't talk about building a 1-year life plan. They talk about building out a 10, 20, 30-year life plan. And so, and kind of figuring out where you want your life to go. And then this year's business plan just plays into whatever your goals are to live a great life. And so you're heading in that direction. That's great. I'll introduce that book here in a few minutes. But tell me about your business plan. So let's just talk about the business part of your plan there. So what is your goal for 2021 in your plan?
It's, I have a business and a financial, but.
Well, okay. So business. Let's start with the business. You're going to sell. How many homes are you going to sell in 2021? Do you know that?
Well, I'm in the commercial side mostly.
Okay.
So mine is, my real goals are networking and actually getting out there and meeting certain types of people.
A lagging indicator is closed units in January. How many closed units did you have in January? 5. Well, you know what? You figured that out, that lagging indicator, on the last day of January when the last deal closed. And you know what? If your goal was 7, there wasn't a lot you could do on January 31st to fix that problem. Fair? And so that's a lagging indicator. Lagging, it's too late. And so if we study lagging, our goals are lagging indicators. Number of units, number of dollars in profit, okay? Our actions are leading indicators. And so an indicator that we know is if she suggests that if she has 3 networking appointments a week and 156 in the year, that she's figured out metrics is going to lead to 7 opportunities for commercial transactions, and her conversion rate in the last 3 years has been 30%, so she's going to do 2.1 units from those 156 networking, and so now she knows about 2 of the 10 units that are on her plate to do in 2021. So what we've just done is we've taken a lagging indicator, her ultimate goal of 10 units, we backed into a leading an action plan item, and we figured out a way that we can get 21% of her annual goal accomplished. Now we only have to find 79 more percent, or 7.9 more transactions inside of some leading strategies, some action plan items, or some leading indicators that are going to drive her business for 2021. Okay? You with me? We're going to kind of spend some time talking about that for a little bit. We're going to break down we're going to break out a couple of ways that you can do that I've found have been very workable or effective for me and the people on my team, and I'm going to share that stuff with you so that your 2021 can stay on track. All right. So let's talk about some housekeeping stuff related to some of that before we get into the details. Number 1, you should review your business plan monthly. I think that you should look in on that. That's a broad stroke review. You should be looking in on, I believe you should look in on your business plan and first decide whether it needs to be changed. How are we doing? Are we ahead of the pace? Are we behind the pace? Is the pace unrealistic? Because there's no reason to keep the goal that you set in mid-November or early December of 2020 for 2021 if you're 2 months into the year and you already know that you're not going to make it. Because what will set in if you don't make the adjustments is dejection and frustration, and then you'll tend to throw in the towel when we get behind. When we feel that there's no way to make it up, so at some point, if you had a bad first month and that's put you in a way that you're not going to be able to make your plan for the year, draw a line and start a new 11-month plan. Review your business plan every month. Review the strategies towards your plan every week. The tactics, the things that you need to do this week. So if I if I know that my goal this month is to sell have 5 units close, there's certain things that have to be happening each week to make that month come to life. You with me? What are some things? If I want to sell 5 units this month, what kinds of things do I need to be doing in your business, specific to you? What do you need to be doing to make sure that happens?
Prospect.
You need to prospect. Okay, so how much do you need to prospect? Do you know that?
Daily.
Daily. Is that 5 or 7 days? 5 days a week. So, and is that just weekdays, not Saturday and Sunday?
I usually leave the Saturday, Sunday if there is any other.
So are you prospecting 5 days?
5 days.
And it's weekdays?
Yes.
Okay, so Monday through Friday. Cool. And how much prospecting do you have to do in each week?
Well, the plan is at least you talk to each week 100 people.
Talk to 100 people a week. So 20, okay, so it sounds like it's 20 people a day. Okay, how long does that take to talk to 20 people in a day, do you know?
Depends what kind of list do you have. The list that you're calling.
Okay, all right. And so, for example, what list is a quick list?
You're calling people that you have already deal with them, or you're calling cold call. Cold call, you can call 10 numbers and you don't get anywhere.
You don't get anywhere. And so, okay, so when you say, now let me understand, I want to make sure. So so listen in, because through these individual questions, I'm unveiling, I think, a lot of good information, I hope. So let me think about that. So you said 100 contacts a week, right? Now, did that mean that 100 dials, or does that mean 100 conversations?
100 conversations.
100 conversations. Okay, and so the cold call list, you call and somebody answers the phone and you say that goes quicker because they say, oh, you got the wrong number.
Well, that wouldn't call it
Oh,
call.
good, okay, good, I like that.
Conversation.
You have to have a conversation. The conversation may be like this. You're another realtor, I hate realtors, don't ever call me again. But that counts as,
Well, no.
that.
Well, count and it doesn't, but you're not fooling yourself.
Well, you're not. But in those 100 contacts a week, in
that
those,
would be one of those.
sure, because there's a difference. If you said, I need to have 35 quality real estate conversations a week in order to hit my goals, that's a different conversation than I need to make 100 contacts a week, okay? And so in that 100, what we believe is that we're doing 100, not 35 quality, because in that 100 we're going to have a lot of those.
Yeah.
And so if I make 100 contacts a day, how do I have a good day? So that's not a very good call, and I don't want to fool myself. So how do you determine it's a good day? You've made your 20 contacts today. How do I know whether it was good or bad? Is it just, it's 20, I'm done, good day? Or what do you have any other further metrics that you break down that 20?
No, if you get their numbers or email that you follow up with them, you will continue contacting them.
So
Even if the 5 of them is something that you can look forward.
with 5 of them?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So 5's a lot. 5 out of 20.
Yeah.
That's 25%. That's a big number. But that's great. What I'm hearing is you're not too sure about what those numbers are. You don't. So here's something that I would recommend that you and everybody keep track of when you go into that week. So I'm going to just tell me your first name again.
Florence.
Florence. Oh, I never got your first name. Florence is a great name. Florence has a goal to make 100 contacts a week. At the end of the week, Florence can look down at her sheet and have tallied them along the way and said, I got my 100. And she can go home at the end of that week and she can feel good about that week. But Florence, I already can tell, has some second questions that she's asked herself. And one is, she says, I don't want to fool myself, because if there weren't any quality conversations, if it was just 100 contacts of people saying, nope, I don't want to talk to you, and hung up, then you wouldn't necessarily feel as good about that week. And so Florence is looking for some measurements as to how she can feel better about that week other than just 100 contacts. Anybody have any advice that we can share to Florence? Yes? Appointment set. Very good. Cool. Now, how many of you in those 100 conversations on the first conversation how common is it to get an appointment? Florence, do you have experience there?
I had an experience. I had, out of 30 calls, I had an appointment.
Very good.
but there was no result.
Okay, that's okay. Again, the game is, yes, results come if we have enough of the leading indicators happening, if we have enough appointments set. So appointment set is certainly a way we can measure the success of that 100-call week. What else? What's short of an appointment that might still be valuable? Anything? You said somebody might want you to keep in touch with them and continue to
Email them, contact them.
keep in contact with them. Yeah, so the conversation went well, and you said, hey, I'd like to keep in touch with you from time to time and keep you informed about what's going on in your neighborhood's real estate market, because you never know when a moment might come where you decide that it's time to sell, or something might happen in life where it's time to sell, and would it be helpful if I just kept you abreast of your most important asset, your house? Oh, I'd love that, Florence. Thank you so much for offering. And so now that is a relationship that she is building with this person. It's better than don't ever call me again. And that I call, what we on our team call that, is we call that a contact that's in the state of nurture. And that's exactly what you're going to do, is just nurture that relationship. If the woman, if the caller on the, I didn't know, was she a woman, or you said she?
Yeah.
So she said, hey, Florence, can you come over? Yeah, really thinking about selling, and I'm not sure if I want you to come over, but it sounds like you talk a good story. And so that's a little better than just somebody that says keep in touch from time to time. We call those HOTS. And we keep track for our team each week, our team's goal. If our team makes 30 contacts a day, 150 contacts a week, and their goal at the end of that week is to have 10 nurtures, 2 a day, and 2 HOTS. And so their goal after they make those 30 contacts is to have 3 people that they can add to their database each day that would satisfy those criteria: nurture, can keep in touch with. They might not have said, hey, keep sending me all your stuff, but at least it was a good conversation where I felt like I could call back and continue to engage that and continue to build that relationship, whether it was a piece of business, a referral, or just a relation, a person that could come and work for you, I guess, would be the third. But you could certainly track your success in that week of your prospecting, of your 100 contacts, with some measurements that let you know how you did. Fair? I recommend that you take your individual goals. So one of your strategies to get business is prospecting. And so maybe, what other strategies? Anybody else have another strategy in their business that you've got in place right now, ready for 2021? Anybody farming? Anybody doing open houses? What do you got? Networking. So tell me what that means. That's a big, broad, ugly word. What do you mean when you say networking?
Sometimes you can go to, community functions.
Cool.
School functions.
Absolutely. Okay, so networking events. And so events where you can go out and meet people and you can get really leveraged, because that's not coffee with a person. There's a room of 20, 30, up to 50 people in 2021, but you can move around and maskfully engage. Cool. How do you measure that? So what is your goal? Networking. At the end of I'm going to network this year. How do we measure that? Or how do you measure that? Okay, so let's think of some ways we could. 1 networking event a week. 52 a year. At that networking event, what's your commitment? I'm going to go up and engage conversation with 10 people I don't know, to ask them what brings them to this network, what do you do for a living, hopefully that they ask me what I do, and I can start a conversation talking about how I help people make their most important decision during their lives regarding residential real estate. And there you go. So you know what I know now is that you've got 52 events, 1 a week. You're going to talk to 10 people at every event. You're going to meet 520 new people. And as a result, you're growing your database, and you're building opportunities to get referrals, or you're finding people that actually have their real estate antenna on, and it can turn into a piece of business, okay? And so the little exercise here is that as you go back through your business plans and you look at those strategies, and I recommend that you have 3, maybe 4 strategies, not 15, 3, maybe 4 strategies, kind of the legs of your table, the 3 or 4 legs of your table to keep it strong, those are the main strategies that you focus on in 2021 to generate the bulk of the business that's going to happen, okay? I recommend that you go back into your 2020, maybe even your 2019 deals, if you have a history there, and go back and say, oh, Joe Smith, referral from a friend of mine. Oh, Mark Johnson, open house. And source where your business came from. Because where it came from in 19 and 20 is where it's going to come from in 21 too. And you can grow that with a little bit of intention. You can grow the areas that are already working. We're going to talk about opportunities and what Dan Sullivan says about opportunities here in a little bit. I need somebody to keep me on time, or just 10:42. Fantastic. I'm only 70 minutes behind already. All right. So, but we're going to talk about Dan Sullivan and what some ideas that he gives as far as how you can look into your opportunities of what worked in 19 and 20 and augment your 21 strategy. What else? What other? So 3 or 4 strategies. And then I would sit down and look at those strategies again and come up with those individual tactics for the strategies. Here's how one way that we do that, and this is going to be one of the takeaways for today. We use a document that we call the 135, okay? And so I'm going to have a copy of the 135, a blank copy of the 135 document so that you can use that. But at the top of the document, it's your one goal for the year, okay? And so my one goal for this year is $300,000 of profit, okay? That's my goal. So what's your one goal for the year, okay? And under that, I've got 3 big strategies to get that one goal, okay? One strategy, one of my big strategies, is to hire 5 salespeople to join my team. Okay? That's one of my strategies. Because I know that if I get 5 people and I coach them up and I train them and they go out and they work in the industry and sell houses this year, and I'll be able to coach them that yes, there is a cost of sale, but I've got my numbers. I need 5 to get to my goal. And at the end of the year, after all I know my expenses, that's one of the things that I know I need to do to get to 300. Okay? Now, under that first strategy, before we get to the second strategy, what's a tactic that I could do to hire 5 salespeople in 2021? I could teach classes. I could teach classes to agents. And so I could go around the town and I could teach a class like this to people that weren't at Signature Real Estate, and I could invite them, or I could find people that might be interested because I talked about my team or my people saw. That'd be one thing I could do. What else could I do? That's one of my tactics. I could teach classes. What else could I do? So networking, that's hard for me. That's a big, ugly, what do you mean? Tell me more. What do you mean, networking? How can I network?
I mean, I guess you're networking when you're having classes, though.
Yeah, so come, I don't want you to give up so early. Where else can I how else can I network? Come on. Yeah, you got it. I could throw parties and invite realtors. I mean, okay, so good. I could throw parties and invite realtors. Or I could go to realtor functions. And I could mingle and make no different than what we talked about early in networking with non-realtors. I could go and I could say, I'm going to meet 10 new realtors every networking function I go to. I'm going to go to 1 a week. I'm going to meet 500 realtors. And I'll bet of those 500 realtors, I'd find some realtors that at least would be interested in having a dialogue about what it looks like to be a part of the Brownell team. What else?
You can offer coaching.
I can offer coaching. And then get into relationship that way, and then sure. So 1, 3, 5. 1 goal, 3 strategies, 5 tactics under each strategy. The tactics are the things that you're going to do. The leading indicators, the action items, the things that you can control to get to the place that you want to be. Okay? That's one way we go about doing our 135. I'll put that in. That's one way we go about getting real specific with our business plans for 2021. In fact, each person on our team comes and does a presentation to the leadership group at our team every quarter. And so Dorothy will come. Dorothy built out her annual plan. Dorothy's on our team, and she's our main salesperson right now, and Dorothy built her plan out for 2021. And Dorothy's goal was, Dorothy's going to sell 60 units this year on our team, and that's a big deal for her. And she set out her first month's plan, or she sent the annual plan, and she presented her first quarter plan. And at the end of the first quarter, here at about, I don't know, we've already got it scheduled, like the third week of March, Dorothy will come in and we'll have a time set aside, and Dorothy will present her second quarter plan. And she'll show up with a 1, 3, 5 for each quarter. This quarter, my goal is to sell 20 units. Here's the 3 strategies that I'm going to focus on. One's going to be leads from the team. One's going to be 150 contacts a week inside the pond and calling in my sphere. And the third one's going to be, I'm going to join my college alumni networking group, and I'm going to make friends with a bunch of people from my college. She's presented that, and she's got then 5 tactics for the quarter under each quarterly plan. And so that's the way that we do it. Now let's go even a little more detailed. We use a second document, and this came to us from Keller Williams, and this is called the 411. And so it's like a 135, but it's a little differently. The 135 wasn't tied to time, right? 1 goal, 3 strategies, 5 tactics for each. The 411 is tied to time. It's not much different. My 1 annual goal is it's a 411. It's 1 annual goal, one month at a time, 4 weeks in a month. We put our annual goal, it's $300,000 of profit. I know in order to do $300,000, to have $300,000 of profit in my business in 2021, my team has to sell 130 units. I know in order to sell 130 units, I can go back and I can track over the history of my time. I know what percentage of our units happen in January and what percentage of our units happen in July. And so I can because if I said 130, well, somebody could say, well, why not just have 11 units a month? But I know the business doesn't work that way. And as soon as I put 11 units in the month in January, and I know that January is typically one of our slowest months as a team, I get done with January, we only sell 7 homes, and we're already 4 behind, we're already 4 under, and I don't like that. And so I calibrate my units out during the course of the year, and so I know what my annual goal is. And in January, I know that we have to sell 7 units to be on pace for our goal. And so here I am now at the start of January, and I know what my team goal is in January, which is 7 units. And so for each week of the 4 weeks in January, I know what needs to happen by me and by my teammates and the accountability that I have to hold them to, because if we're not making 300 calls a week as a team, I know that the chances of the metrics coming alive that'll get us to our 7 units in January isn't going to happen. In fact, the activities that made January happen really happened back in December of 2020, and we'll mention that in a second, but I have to track that every week. And here's what happens. So let's say that I know that if we do the things we need to do in the first week of January, what that typically has meant is that'll get us 2 units in the first week of January. And here we are on January 8th, and guess how many units we have so far? Guess how many units we have so far? 0. Well, what are we going to do in the second week of January? You know what we might do? We might say, hey team, 300 calls isn't going to work in the second week. We need to do 500 calls. We're going to have a Wednesday night call night. Everybody's going to come in. I'll get pizza, but we need to work for 2 hours from 6 to 8. Otherwise, we're not going to hit the January goals. And if you don't hit the January goals, guess what is off already? The end of the year goals. Because rallying is hard. I don't recommend getting into a have to rally to make it mode. And so my point is the 411. We start each week on Monday mornings. Each team member comes into my office for a 30-minute one-on-one session where they bring, we don't use a 411 anymore, we use what's called an action plan, but it's very similar. I'll include that too. It's just I give them their 3 or 4 action plan items. the 3 or 4 tactics they need to be focused on this week to get what they need to get done, to be on pace to hit their monthly goals, to hit their quarterly goals, to hit their annual goals. My job to Dorothy is to make sure that she gets her 60, and the way I do that is from 10:30 to 11 on Monday mornings, we sit and we review last week and we talk. But Dorothy, you were going to make 150 contacts. Last week she made 107. And, well, she had a lot of excuses. She wrote 5 deals last week. But you know what? April doesn't care about what you did in the first week of February. Because what you're doing today in those 150 contacts are determining what's going to happen in April. And so great, I'm so happy that February and March are solid, but you're setting yourself up for a valley. And so we have that meeting every Monday to review last week and for her to present what her goals or strategies are for this week. And I either sign off and say, I think you're on that, excellent, go get them, or we talk about them. And that's the way on our team that each individual knows where they stand at all points in their own lives, in their own business plan, in their own quest to get whatever's important to them. And so, you know, that's kind of how we go about it. And I think that what happens is, at least this is what used to happen for me all the time before I got really serious about this, is that you'd build a business plan, usually in November or December. You look at it, it's awesome, and you'll feel really good about it. You're not sure if any of it's possible, but it looks good on paper. And boy, wouldn't it be awesome if it really happened. And you get all giddy for a little while, and then you set it aside, and then hey, where's the business plan? It's December 15th, how'd we do? And so then it sits there off on the side, and you don't look. I didn't look at it, and then the year just happened. And then I looked in on the year and I was like, And what we learned so many things as we looked retrospectively on where a business was. How many times did we miss great opportunities because we just weren't aware of what was going on in our business, or pivots that were necessary, or expenses that or strategies that we needed to just wholesalely abandon because they weren't working, but we stayed committed to them for the whole year, and it hurt the end of the year. So this stuff I do, I look out on my stuff daily. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about another Dan Sullivan resource. But okay, questions? No questions. All right, Beta, any questions back there? Okay, so all right, so cool. So here, let's keep going because I got a little time and I want to talk about a lot more things. I got 30 minutes, right? Yeah. All right, so we talked about having a plan of action. I talked about the action plan template. I'll include that. All that is that, again, that's just the 4 or 5 main strategies for the week. We meet every Monday. One thing that we do on our team is the first thing that every person comes in and shares is their big victory from last week. And I think that that's something that even if you're a solo show and you're a one-person team, I think that when you reflect back or start your new week, one thing that you should definitely acknowledge every week and write down is what your big victory last week was. And I think you should also write down what your big challenge was. And I think that if you keep track of those each week, and you look back on those every month, you look back on those and review those at the end of a quarter, inside of those are opportunities and dangers, and we'll talk about opportunities and dangers in a second and what that means, okay? So every week, greatest victory, greatest challenge, because inside those are your dangers and opportunities, and we're going to work on that before we finish today, okay? Daily. I subscribe to this guy a lot, and this is not a published book, this is an ebook by Dan Sullivan. If you go to Dan Sullivan is the head of the coaching company called Strategic Coach, and he wrote this ebook last year called The Gap and the Gain. If you type Dan Sullivan, The Gap, like the gap in the ocean, The Gap and the Gain, and this is a book about daily rituals to find success and to stay on path. And he talks about identifying the 3 gains of the day and the 3 wins from the day before, and then the 3 wins that you're going to have today. And he recommends doing that every day at about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, not at 5 when you're all burnt out and ready to go home or whatever time you go, but probably mid-afternoon. You should be already looking back because you should have your big wins for the day. What were the 3 things that you advanced in, and what are the 3 things that you're going to set out to that you must or you intend to advance and win tomorrow. And what he says in his book, he talks about, we all look at the gap in business. We look at, well, I still need to do this, and I'm not here yet. And we tend to, as we get closer to it, it moves like the horizon, and so we never really get to our goal. And so instead of worrying about the gap, because the gap will always exist, because we always keep moving the horizon down the line, focus on the gains you've made. And that's a way more positive and action-based way. And so Gap in the Gain, Dan Sullivan, really, really good book. But he says, measure the 3 wins that you had today, identify the 3 new ones that you have tomorrow, and he defines a win as anything that you can measure, you've got to be able to measure it, anything that you can measure that's better today than it was yesterday. Cool? Okay. Now, I want to talk about a book. Down here at the bottom. All right, so let's do this now. So there's another good book that I've read. It's a simple one. Look how it's only like 80 pages. I think you can read this in a half a day. Dan Sullivan book called The Dan Sullivan Question, if you're not familiar. And he asks one question, and the question that he asks in his book to business owners is, and it's kind of the defining question, and we're going to talk a little bit about some parts of it. So let me get the question out for you. I think you should hear the question before we break it down. Well, you know, the question that he asked, if we were having this discussion 3 years from today, if we were having this very discussion 3 years from today, and you were looking back over those 3 years, what has to have happened in your life, both personally and professionally, for you to feel happy with your progress? What has to happen, both if you look back 3 years, what has to have happened both personally and professionally in your life for you to have felt happy with your progress? And then he says specifically, he asks three questions related to that. And he says, what are the dangers? And we're going to talk about those. Come on. What existing dangers do you need to eliminate in order for you to be happy with your progress over those 3 years? What existing dangers do you need to eliminate? What opportunities do you need to capture? What dangers do you need to eliminate? What opportunities do you need to capture? And what strengths do you need to maximize? So let's write down those 3 words. We're going to talk about those 3 words for a minute. Dangers, opportunities, and strengths. And so I talked about writing down your greatest victory and your greatest challenge of the week, of each week, and reflecting on that. If you don't have a coach, if you just do it yourself. If you have a coach, I recommend that you share that with your coach every week or talk to your coach about why you want to do that. I think in our business plans, these are 3 questions that we don't ask, and I want you to ask them of yourself now and think about this in your plan for the rest of the year. The first question is, what dangers exist in your business right now? And so when I say a danger, what danger do you need to eliminate? What problem, what worry, what concern, what if causes fear or causes a limiting belief that might exist inside of you? Or maybe you have a capacity issue. Do you need more people? Do you have a competitor that's beating you out of a market that you're focused on? What can go wrong, or what could cause your business to find danger this year? Potentially. Not what's horrible about your business right now. Let's hope nothing. But what dangers are out there that could cause some derailment? Does anybody have one in mind? What danger? Anybody got a danger that you'd feel comfortable sharing? No? Well, here's a danger. My why might not be big enough. My why might not be big enough. W-H-Y. And if my why's not big enough, what's going to happen? I'm not going to do the things that I need to do because I'm not motivated to do them. And if my why's not big enough, this is a problem because I won't do it. And you know where I'll be at the end of the year is I won't get my goal. That's a danger in my world. I just might, if my why's not big enough, if I'm not motivated to do the stuff, it creates some problems for me. What other dangers are possible in your world? You don't have to share them. I just want you to be thinking about that and jotting them down. Because I think you need to be aware of your dangers, because those are the things that are going to get you off track and keep you off track if you get off track. Because I think we do that. Does anybody really just do this because they don't have anything else to do and they're bored at home and they just thought they'd come and play like they were a realtor? No, I don't think we do that. We actually come here to try to help people, which is a why for some. I heard that come out of a couple of people's mouths this morning. And to make money, I think we do that because we like, money's not the end of everything, but it sure spends well. It makes things a lot easier to do and buy things. And so, yeah, I think we do that. So what dangers are out there in your business that could cause it to go sideways? How about opportunities? What opportunities exist right now? When I say opportunities, what I'm talking about with opportunities are what went well in 2020 that you can expand on? Or what's going well right now that you can do more of? What's something that went really, pardon?
The market is hot.
Well, the market is hot, but that's nothing that went well for you. That's just something that happens to exist and you're taking advantage of it. But because the market was hot, what did you do that went well that you can do more of this year? Do you got anything in mind? How about independent of the market's hotness? What went well? Does anybody have anything that went well for them in 2020? How about last week? Anything go well last week that you could continue to push? So we started last week. We started this thing we do. It was something that we intended to do a long time, but we started this last week, and Dorothy did 3 of them, and we call them an annual review. So we call up somebody of our past client that we've sold a house to or helped them with real estate, and they're in their house, and we call up and we offer them every year to do an annual review of their real estate holdings to evaluate what values have changed and what's going on in their neighborhood and any questions they might have about real estate, whether it might be good to consider refinancing, where interest rates, et cetera. And so we just kind of do an annual checkup. And so it's been something that had been on our radar to do, and we'd been talking about it, and as it goes, one of the dangers is, David doesn't do everything that he says, and so we didn't get it started. But Dorothy, we started last week, and Dorothy had 3 annual reviews last week, and it led to 2 listing appointments and a referral. And so guess how many, Dorothy's doing 3 annual reviews again this week. And she's trying to figure out how to get to 5, because she wants to get through her database and her entire sphere while the market, in these early months, while the market's really hot, before people have already closed the door on perhaps a decision that might be viable or that they didn't know they should be considering because they didn't know what their house was worth or what was going on in the market or whatever else. And she had that conversation with them. And so she's accelerated that because she sees that as an opportunity. So does that help? Or does everybody with me when I talk about opportunities, what opportunities existed or exist in your business? Okay, think about that. And then what strengths do you have that you can capitalize on? And so what's that? What superpowers do you have? What's something that you found you're really good at that you can leverage inside of your real estate business? Any ideas there? Anybody to share? Beta, how about a virtual share? Can you do something that pings them and sends like a bright flashing light into their desktop and blinds them for a second so we can see if they're still awake? No seizures. All right. So what strengths? What strengths do you have? What are your superpowers that you can capitalize? And I think if you think about those 3 things, that can also help you tweak and validate your business plan for 2021. Okay. All right. So, a few more things I want to talk about here. Let me see how I've got 25 minutes. All right. So, inside of the week, and we've talked about a few different options that you can track your numbers. You can keep track of your results. And so we talked about some things that we're going to track. So what were some of the things that we talked about tracking? Contacts, right, Florence? You said we're going to track contacts, okay? And how many contacts do you need to make in a week? You said 100. And so there's one measurement, one standard that exists inside of your Florence Inc. is to make 100 contacts a week. And so if you make 10 today, you got 90 left, and you're making more than 20 a day. Is that fair? Is that what you do? Or do you just, if you only make 10, then you're down to 90 for the week? Do you hit 100 no matter what?
Yes.
You do. And so does that mean some Saturdays you get to get on the phone because one weekday you didn't get it done? Or are you disciplined and you do it every day?
No, I do it.
You do it. You do it every day. And so you make your 100 contacts every week, and you log, perfect. All right, what other things can you measure? Somebody said appointments set. Or somebody said appointments, right? That was you. Appointments. So what do you track? I gave it away, but so there's appointments that happen, but what about appointments that you set and that don't happen? Do you track, what can you control? Setting the appointment. Sometimes you set the appointment, but it doesn't happen for whatever reason because they change their mind and then they don't. But your goal is to set appointments, okay? Appointments held is almost a lagging indicator. Appointments set is your leading indicator and something that you can control. What other measurements, what other standards do you have in your business? Yes?
I think with like me networking, I track how many people's information I actually can take with me. Contacts that can build their relationship with.
Yeah, good. I think this is good. So Florence has a business strategy that says she's going to make 100 contacts a week, and it sounds like you're calling different lists, whether it's your sphere or around a listing that you took or just pulling names out of a phone book, but you're calling people. And it sounds like your strategy is a little bit different in that you're going to go out and try to meet people to get into relationship with them and to build your sphere, a little bit different focus. Certainly she can build her sphere, but she's looking for business, you're looking for relationships. Is that fair? And so Florence, when you have a contact, so one of those 100 contacts that you're going to make, and let's say it was a good one, all right? I want you to just think about a good one. So what you got their name? What else did you get?
Their email address.
You got their email address, okay. Anything else?
What are their plans
What-
for the next 6 months?
What are their plans for the next 6 months? Okay. Anything else?
So I can make a progress through her plan.
So you know what is on her mind and what she's hopeful or thinking about doing, if anything, in the next 6 months. You've got her email and you've got her name, and you're happy. That's a good contact. Cool. All right. Your rules may be a little different. What's going to be a good contact for you? Name.
Yeah, name, email, phone number, and if we can meet up in the near future within the month or see what their plans are.
Okay. So all right. So here we barely know each other. All right. And so tell me your name.
Monica.
Monica. Hey, I'm David. And so what's your email? All right. Okay. Cool. And your phone number? Awesome. All right. Hey, you want to get together next week?
Well, yeah, not like.
All right. Cool. So all right. Cool. So tell me a little bit about you. So what do you do for fun?
I work out
You work out?
Yeah.
You like to work out. Where do you work out?
at any time.
Anytime Fitness?
Yeah.
Yeah. How long have you been a member there?
I just started there actually, new gym.
You did. And so but you've worked out at another gym before Anytime?
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. What else? What else do you do? So what did you do before you were real estate? You got into real estate?
I was in retail.
Retail. What kind of like mall type environment?
At the Win
At the Win.
Yeah.
So one of the boutique shops at the Win you sold. How long did you do that?
for 3 years.
Yeah. Where'd you grow up? What part of the world?
Michigan.
Michigan. What? Where in Michigan?
Grand Blanc.
Grand Blanc, Michigan. Is that northern Michigan?
It's right outside. It's like 45 minutes from Detroit.
45 from Detroit, but north of Detroit,
Yeah.
towards St. Clair Shores.
No, actually more south.
South of Detroit. Okay, cool. And so awesome. So all right, now I didn't ask you to meet for me for lunch yet next week or to meet, but but look at what I did there. Now, is that information about your person on the phone going to help you if you know where they grew up, what they do for fun? Maybe not at this point. Fair?
Usually we have some kind of form.
You have a form, right. And the form that you're getting the questions answered on when you're prospecting are, have you thought about moving? You're asking.
Where are you going to move?
Yeah. You called about houses. It's safe to assume you're thinking about buying a house. Do you have a house to sell? How big of a house you looking to buy? Why are you thinking of moving? Where do you so you're asking those kind of questions about the real estate stuff. She's over here trying to build a relationship. And so, yeah, ultimately she wants to have, she's in the business of building relationships because she wants people to turn to her for real estate. But one of her goals is networking to build a relationship of people that know her, like her, and trust her, so that those are people that either come to you to have you help them with business, or they might refer people to you. Okay? You see, we have two different strategies, but they both involve dealing with people. She's getting a whole different host of information, and those are the measurements that I think that you build out. So I want each week to meet 5 new people. I got to get their name, their email, their phone number, and the following 5 pieces of information about them, or a couple of the 5 pieces of information about them, so I can continue to build that relationship. You see, because now that I know that you like to work out at Anytime Fitness, and I see an article in the Review Journal that says that there's a terrible case of bed bugs at all the Anytime Fitnesses, I might send that to you to be not, hey, don't know if you saw this, but I thought it would be something that you'd be interested in knowing about.
Yeah.
But that's built, see, that's deepening the relationship. That's me showing that I listened, I paid attention, and that matters. That'll affect you.
Usually people just tell you all their information sometimes.
People just tell you their life story.
They just, yeah, they'll tell you.
Yeah, well, people like to talk, especially when it's about them.
Yeah.
And so good. And then you capture that. But you have, sometimes you're going to get more. But my point is, you want to have a standard or some standards of what you need to accomplish to make that hit your measurement. Mm-hmm. If you're going to meet 10 people, it isn't just, yep, I met, because I met a bunch of people today. But that isn't satisfying my standard of what qualifies as a good meet to further my goal of making my business happen in some way. Okay? And so the standards that you create are where we'll spend the rest of our time. They're the and so we talked about standards. So appointments set. We talked about prospecting, a number of contacts made. You said one of your things is to increase networking. And so one of your standards is to meet X number of people a week or a month. And that becomes then a standard, and then how you do that and what equals a win is all determined inside of those standards that you create. A couple of things that I've read that I will recommend, and I can't, so yeah, I would like to just copy, there's only a chapter in each of these books, but these books have been very helpful to me, so I'll share them with you. I like to read, I read a lot. And so this is the most recent book I've read. It's by Jack Stack, called The Great Game of Business, by Jack Stack. And in this book, I thought it was an excellent book about running a business, but inside this book, I would highly recommend that you read chapter 6. Chapter 6 is called Setting Standards, and it is a great lesson, some great insights on how to go about setting the standards for your own business. Even if you're just one person. Some of us have teams and have other people that we have to set standards for besides ourselves, but this is a way to set standards for even you, the individual. Jack Stack, great book. Another great resource on the same topic is a book by Gino Wickman. So I don't know if everybody knows there was a guy, Floyd Wickman, who was a big real estate sales coach. This is Gino Wickman, his son. And this is not a real estate book. This is another business book called Traction. And Gino Wickman created a business operating system inside of Traction. And in this book, the chapter that I would recommend that you get your hands on, I think you can even find these online. It's not even a chapter. It's going to page 116 to 127, and then there's some other parts. But Gino Wickman talks about what he calls a scorecard. He has a scorecard. Are there any baseball fans in the room? No baseball fans? Well, in baseball, they have statistics that are kept on players. And so they keep something called a batting average. And they keep track of things like home runs. There's this thing, if you hit the ball over the fence, it's a home run. And they keep track of home runs, and they keep track of hits, and on-base percentage. And so they keep track of all these numbers, and that rates that player against all the other players in the league this year as well as all the other years, because they're keeping the same measurements. They're keeping the same scorecard, and they have records. And it's all based on the same rules. And Wickman says if you build a scorecard in your business, and it's the same and it's consistent and you follow it every week, guess what you can know in August this year? You can know how you did in relationship to look how our August looked against February. Look how it looked against June. Look how it looked in 2022. Look how August 22 looked against August 2021. And so if you keep a scorecard, just like we keep batting averages or the different things in different competitions, Gino Wickman goes about how to do that in creating a scorecard. Our team has a scorecard that we use every week. And so this is our scorecard, and it measures certain numbers of things. And so every team member shows up on Monday morning with some things. How many conversations did you have last week? How many appointments did you set? How many appointments did you hold? How many new HOTs did you introduce into the database last week? How many new nurtures? How many offers did you write? How many agreements got signed? How many of them were buyer? How many of them were seller? How many closings did you get? How many referrals did you get? And so and then we have something called during referrals. We ask for referrals while people are inside the transaction, because we know that during that time, when you're involved in a real estate transaction, your radar, it's called your reticular activator, is on alert. Yeah, we're buying a house. You have a lot more conversations about houses when you're buying houses, because that's what you're talking about. So then you get to hear about everybody else's housing issues or needs, and from that comes opportunities for referral. So we specifically target and pay attention to our during referrals, and we scorecard that every week so that I can say, look, we must be doing better at our dialogues regarding during referrals, because we're getting 2 a month. We were getting 0 a month at the beginning of the year. I don't think that's just accidental. So then we have some optional metrics that we keep. So one person, annual reviews is one person's thing. She's now committed to doing that every week. And so that commitment, we track that on the scorecard to make sure that she's hitting the metrics and the measurements that she needs to hit her goals, to sell her 60 units and to end up with herself with, a lot of money at the end of the year, to allow her to do things for her family and her charities and all the other things that makes her buttons get excited. Okay? Scorecard. And the third book that I'll recommend that you look in on if you're interested in this topic is this book by Chris Machesi and Sean Covey. Sean Covey is, who's the other Covey? Stephen Covey. Sean Covey is Stephen Covey's son. Sean Covey and Chris Machesi wrote a book called The 4 Disciplines of Execution. And in their book on chapter 3, or discipline 3, is called Keep a Compelling Scoreboard. And what his argument is, like what Zappos, has anybody taken the tour of Zappos? You go into Zappos and you go into their customer service department, and they have average length of customer service call. Or they have some different measurements, and they're up on video screens all around the company, so people can be seeing them all the time. Because you know what they want to do? Why they have that scoreboard up? Because guess what the employees are out to do? They're out to beat yesterday's score. And so he talks about it from the perspective of motivating a team of your peers or of your colleagues on your team by keeping it visible. But same concept as what Wickman talked about when he called it a scorecard. Chesney and Covey talk about it when they call it a scoreboard. But I think those 3 resources tell you everything that you need to know about building out standards for your business, so that you're sure that what you're doing every day, every week, and every month are getting you to get that business plan to come to life and be real. And so there you go. Questions? Okay, so in fact, a couple other things. I got 10 minutes and I'm rocking. So I talked about that book, this life plan. I'm really impressed that somebody talked about a life plan. I recommend that if you're really interested in thinking about life bigger than just a 1-year business plan, I really recommend this book. It was a life changer for me and some people that I've introduced it to, building out a life plan. We talk about building business plans and every plan's about business, but we never really talk about, and people don't life just happens for many of us. And he talks about creating a plan and going and get what you want, but you got to know what you want. And so I like that. And so that's cool. All right. Our team, so here, right here, this is our 2021 goals. These are our 2021 goals. And here's the first quarter's individual rocks of each person on the team. And everybody has a laminated copy of this that I can carry around with me at all times, because my business plan isn't going to sit inside the right-hand drawer and wait for me to think about, hey, let's check out the business plan and see how we've done. It's been a few months. And so we pay attention to this stuff every day. And it'll be redone. When we sit back down for the second quarter, some of those goals will change based on what happened or didn't happen in the first quarter. Just like in this week, where we needed to make 300 calls and we didn't get the results that we needed from the 300 calls. We didn't get the 6 appointments that would have led to 2 listing appointments or 2 buyer signed agreements that would have been moving us toward our 7. So week 2 we upped our game. And if you know what, if week 2 we're still off track, week 3 we'll go to 700 if we need to. And so we build each week based on what's happened before it with an eye on what the monthly goal is, and we change our strategies each week, or our tactics each week, based on where we got to be at the end of the month and how well or how not well we've done up to that point. Okay? All right, good. All right, so before I forget, Beta, let's, do we have all the email? How are we going to make this drawing happen? All these folks here didn't get to put their name in.
We'll create a separate post for them.
Oh, you're going to do it? So that's not something that we get to announce during my show, during this
We'll announce it
episode?
this Friday.
You'll announce it this Friday?
Yeah.
All right, so are you going to be the custodian, the steward of the goods?
Yep.
Okay.
Do we just text the number? Or?
Beta will give you all the directions. You are the steward of the goods.
Text number a couple times.
I'll tell you, if you want just one little tidbit, if you're interested in tax savings, Google the Augusta rule. Augusta rule, it came as a result of Augusta, Georgia, where they hold the Masters golf tournament every year. And so if you're an individual, if you have a business and you have your LLC and you're set up and you're running your business as a company, as a corporation, you should. You shouldn't be doing a simple tax return as a realtor. But if you are, you'll be able to look up the Augusta rule and you'll be happy about it. It could give you tax deductions probably in the range of $15,000 to $20,000 for this year. It's kind of a cool little concept. Ways to basically rent your house to your business to hold a corporate retreat or a quarterly meeting or a monthly meeting, and you get to charge, as the individual, you get to charge your company the going rack rate for what it would cost if you rented a room to have an annual retreat. So if you call the Red Rock and I need a projector and a screen, and I need a room, and I need to get lunch, and you're going to spend $4,000 at Red Rock for a day. And so you get to bill your business that expense. You as an individual don't pay tax on the money, and your business gets to take it as a business expense. And guess how many times you get to do it in an annual year? 14. 14 times. And so you can almost have a monthly meeting where you're taking let's say you only charge yourself $1,500. You have to write a check from your business to you, and that is income for you. And so read about the Augusta rule.
Do you have to own the property, or can you be renting?
I don't think that you have to own the property. But that's a good question, and again, read about it some, and then of course I'm not a tax professional, I'm just a tax junkie, and that's only recently. But talk to whoever your tax professional or CPA or a tax attorney is. Talk to them. Don't rely on this guy for any kind of tax things that'll get us all in trouble. But it's legit. So there you go. He talks about that in the book. Tom Wheelwright. Good guy. All right. Well, that's the stuff that I had to talk about today. Normally what I would have done for the last few minutes is I would have had you write down your list of your dangers and your opportunities and your strengths, and we'd have broke some of those out, and we would have come up with some strategies that we could implement to put in place or augment your 2021 business plan. The long and short of it is, I recommend that you adopt either the 411, the action plan, or the 411, the action plan, or the 135 as a way to drill down your business plan into some very, very micro details so that you know what you need to be doing each week, each month to get where you want to go. And I'd review it monthly, I'd review it quarterly. I wouldn't necessarily change it monthly, but I'd be willing to change my business plan. In fact, we have changed our business plan at different quarter points because we've been off track or because we've been ahead of the game, and we stretched our goals a little further because we had that opportunity. We don't know, we talk about, somebody asked a question, how in the hell am I going to make my goals given the situation of inventory in the market? Well, remember, last year, we sold 38,864 units, and in 2019 we sold 39,125 units. There were only 264 units difference in the 2 years. That's 39,000 units. That's a buy and a sell side on each one. That's 79,000 opportunities. There's as many opportunities even with low inventory. It just means that I think some strategies. I think you have to, I said this yesterday, you have to find a special buyer. You can't just find a qualified buyer. You have to find a qualified buyer who's motivated and wants to win, okay? Because there's a lot of buyers out there on every deal that are losing. And finding buyers that lose are expensive, time-wise. Think about how much time it costs you when you have to go out and fail. Oop, we didn't get that. Oop, we didn't get that. Oop, we didn't. Well, we got the fifth one. Well, you know what? That was like working with 5 buyers, kinda. Finding inventory, there isn't any. Well, I would start thinking in my strategies, I'd want to know how I'm going to find inventory. Okay? Well, one way and the most obvious way is in my business plan, if I'm traditionally been an agent that works with buyers in past years, I'm loading up on learning everything I can on taking listings, and I'm focused on listings in 2021. Because that's inventory. There's the perfect way to control your own inventory. If you have a buyer, go get your own inventory, okay? Well, I have a buyer. We lost out on this house. What Dorothy's doing is she's going out in that subdivision and in the surrounding mile and finding the 75 houses that are either a model match or similar in size and style, and she's getting those lists and she's calling those 75 homeowners, trying to find a potential listing so her buyer has a house. She's not just looking for listings, she's looking for listings for buyers that are needing to find a house to buy. And her hope is that work will get her 2 units, not just 1. And so, yeah, that was a question that came from online. How are we going to get to how are we going to get those houses with low inventory? I think you're just going to have to zero in on strategies that really aren't what we've done in the past. Where are we going to find product? Has anybody been to Make Me Move? Does Make Me Move still exist on Zillow? Zillow has a part of their site. It's like where for sale by owners can put their house up and they put a price on it. And it's not really listed, but if you offered them this price, you could make them move. It's called Make Me Move. Well, those are all potential for sale. Those are basically for sale by owners. And so if you can go in there and you can find product that's in the area and size and style of what your client's looking for, there's some inventory that's not in the MLS. I mean, the challenge for us in 2021 is to go out and find the inventory that's not in the most obvious straight ahead place that everybody goes to find inventory, your multiple listing service. If you can find the places where inventory is outside of the MLS, you're ahead. So that's how I would answer that question. We spent some time on how we can develop specific tactics and strategies. The actual strategies are unique to your business. They're unique to those 3 big strategies that you have that are necessary to get you to that one goal. And so, that's what I would recommend, spending some time drilling down and getting a little more specific. Clarity, and then start. How do I start? What do I focus on? Well, I think that, and that's your question, I think that I would, to get started and I'm going to build a business plan, I'd kind of start with some of the basic things. My first year goal is to make $50,000 for me. When all my expenses are paid, I want to have $50,000. And I'm making up a number. And then I would work backwards. All right, how many houses do I have to sell to get $50,000 to me? Well, what percentage of every dollar that I generate do I get to keep? Well, if it's 50%, then it sounds like you got to generate $100,000. And so then how do I get $100,000 of revenue? Well, we said $9,000 to $10,000 on average per deal. I got to do 11 deals, but probably 3 or 4 of them might cancel. I better do 15 so that I can be sure to get 11, so that I can get at $9,000 a deal, my $99,000 at 50% for me, there's my $50,000. That's where I'd start in building that business plan. And then my next question would be, I got to make 11 deals. How am I going to go find 11 deals? And that's all I'd think about. I'd say, here's the 4 ways I'm going to go get 11 deals. I'm going to get 3 from open houses. I'm going to get 3 from my sphere, friends and family that know me, I'm going to tell them about how I'm on real estate, and I'm counting on them to help me, and my business depends on my friends and family to turn to me to help their friends and family, because that's what I'm great at. And I'm going to have those 4 strategies, and I'm going to find my 3 deals in each one, and I'm going to do things that get me to those 4 strategies to come to life every day. And so that's what I think is the starting point. All right.
It's a different question. With the market that we are, with your experience, what can make this market change, like shift it?
You mean what's going to cause inventory to grow? Well, forbearance goes away is one. Interest rates going up a good amount, so a point or so is two. A lot of new building,
Which they're not.
they're not. And they can't ramp that up fast enough to solve. That's a slow solution. And then what could be fourth? Vegas could become taboo. People could stop moving here, stop liking it. I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough year. I think inventory keeps going down for a while. Interest rates are our best, our forbearance is our best thing. And you don't want forbearance to go away. It causes such grief to people. The inventory is going to grow because people are going to be forced to sell their homes, which isn't something that we want to wish for. But those are the ways the market's going to shift back, I think. Interest rates and forbearance going away. I don't see either of them coming to life in the foreseeable future, just in my study.
How long has that been extended to now?
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. It sounds like its forbearance is through September. That's a federal mandate. And so then October, November, December, well, you know what happens there. That's the holidays are upon us. And so my guess is it's probably going to be into the early part of 2022 before it all shakes out. And so 2021 is going to be a year of just kind of on hold, trying to ride out and keep everybody safe so that no bad stuff happens, hopeful that the world can start to get engaged and moving again so that people can get back to work, and so that when forbearance goes away, it doesn't mean you have to sell your house and then not have a place to live or a difficult situation. So, all right.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay, so that's it. 90 minutes, my commitment. I'm David Brownell. Here's this. Beta, will you make sure that my email address is up there? And so David at Brownell, Brown the color, ELL, team, TEAM, realtors, REALTORS.com. David at Brownell, teamrealtors.com. If you have questions that you were uncomfortable asking in the group setting or couldn't speak through the virtual setting, you please feel free to reach out to me. If you'd like to talk about this more, if you need some assistance or you'd like some assistance or you just want some insight or you want to run something against me, reach out to me. I'd be happy to set a small amount of time aside or a reasonable amount of time aside to meet with you and talk about anything that I might be able to share. I'm excited to be a part of our group, and so I'm just, like I said, I like to help give back and share, and so thanks for letting me have that in today. Cool.
Thank you.